the presidential address of the Think India Legal Summit 2012, I invite Padma Shri Dr. N.R. Madhavan to the dais.
My hearty congratulations to the organizers of this Think India Summit, mainly for two reasons. For too long, Indians have been thinking about the world at large. That was our culture. We used to say, Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam, the whole family, the whole world is my family. We used to say, Loka Samasta Subhino Bhavantu. Let the whole world enjoy, be happy. Very good values that we have cultivated for 2,500 years. When we realized that the world is trying to exploit the weak, those who cannot think of themselves, with the result we have been subjugated and exploited by colonizers one after the other. Therefore, it is time, ladies and gentlemen, to think about our own country while we continue to celebrate our traditional value of welfare of all mankind. We are talking about a country which has over 1/6 of the world's population, 1/6 of the human race. We are talking about a country which is the cradle of civilization for over 2,000 years. So when we talk about Bharat, that is India, we need to think that if we succeed as a nation, we will be able to provide a model for the whole world. Why? Because we have so much of diversity in this country, where we cannot say Indian culture. How is it different from the Bangladesh culture or the Pakistani culture? We are all one nation. In fact, I used to ask my students, what binds the Madrasi with the Punjabi? What binds the Bengali with the Keralite? After much debate about culture, language, religion, this and that, we find that this is not what binds together. What binds us together today as Indians, let me submit to you, is this document which we, the people of India, have given to ourselves on 26 November 1949. Therefore, it is time to look at this constitution. I would appeal to the organizers to take the Constitution of India more seriously. It is not just a legal document. It is the social political manifesto of 1.2 billion humans. Not only of this generation, for generations to come together. As Justice Dharmadhikari mentioned, the essence of all religions, all cultures are there articulated in the very preamble to the Indian Constitution. If we can educate the youth of this country on the importance of this Constitution, the necessity to realize the dreams of 1.2 billion Indians through the instrumentality of ordered change, that is what is called law, we will have succeeded in building a nation which would be a model for the rest of the world. That's why I congratulate the organizers to persuade so many talented youth who have assembled here to think about India of the future, which is the concept of which is articulated in the Constitution of India. The second reason I congratulate is that for too long after independence, the affairs of India have been taken over and organized, power exercised by people who are plus 60, plus 70, plus 80. It is time for the younger generation to take over the organization and governance in various departments and sectors of this country. And they constitute the majority. After all, out of 1.2 billion, more than 55% are people below 40. Therefore, the youth of India, on whom the future of this country depends, will have to take active participation in policy development, in making of laws, in creating new institutions, in being able to live a nation whose ideals are incorporated in this constitution. Ladies and gentlemen, a word was talked about rule of law. It seems to me that whether we import law from outside or we create law here from our own ideas of justice, we need a legal system, because without a legal system, no society can exist. I don't say that all laws need to be written, but laws will have to be there to guide human conduct, to be able to make progress in an orderly, directed manner. Therefore, law is the fulcrum of change. You need to conceive the law in such a manner that you think will contribute to the maximization of justice in society. In fact, we are not wanting laws for law's own sake. We are seeking laws because we think that it will bring about justice in society. In fact, what people want is justice. Social, economic and political. Liberty of thought, expression, belief, etc. Equality of status and of opportunity. Dignity of the individual. And more importantly, the unity and integrity of the nation. These are the crystallized values for which ABVP and similar organizations will have to unitedly work for, think out the strategies therefore, and incorporate through the legal system, because there is no other way. The only other way is force. You can use two instruments for change. One is brute force, which was adopted by President Bush against Saddam Hussein, which still prevails in the international relations, which still prevails in the mafia areas, in real estate, in so many other parts of India, in bringing about change. We need to replace it by well thought out laws. Those laws which are of benefit to Indians. When we do not think about it, we will end up with laws which will be borrowed. The patent law is a supreme example as to how we have faltered. We had a patent law which was taking the interest of all concerned while taking our own interest into consideration, but that was forced to be amended because of our involvement in the WTO and the TRIPS agreement. So here is an example in which globalization, technology, changes that are happening everywhere is influencing our legal system, and we are adopting laws which were fashioned to suit the requirements of developed societies. Not all laws, but certainly in the economic sector. How do we bring about the change in the laws which are suitable to our purpose? That's the purpose of legal education, about which I am going to talk to you in the afternoon. But you must think in this seminar about the relationship between laws or the legal system and the justice that people want. Today, as Palkhiwala said, we have more and more laws but less and less justice. How come this disconnect between law and justice? Why are we creating new institutions which are not able to cater to the justice in society? All that I would like to tell you is that even the Constitution may require change. Constitution, I consider, is a living thing, like you and I. It has its body, it has its soul. In the Keshavananda Bharati case, the Supreme Court identified the soul of the Constitution and called them the basic features of the Constitution, which are unalterable, even by a majoritarian parliament. That's the character of Indianness in the Indian Constitution, which includes the idea of justice, social justice. It includes the idea of equality of status and opportunity. It includes the idea of dignity of every individual. It includes the idea of the unity and integrity of the nation. Once you organize it in terms of different fact situations, whether it is family relations, labor relations, or contractual relations, or relations between a state and a citizen, you will be able to identify and articulate the laws which are relevant to the Indian situation. Unfortunately, it did not happen. With the result today that we continue to have Article 370. We continue to be denying ourselves with what Justice Dharmadhikari said, a uniform civil code, which is not discriminatory on the basis of gender or religion. We continue to have difficulty in negotiating with the terrorists, with the Maoists, because they are not prepared to accept this constitution. There is no place for anybody in India who do not accept the Constitution of India. It is the Bible for every Indian, Gita of every Indian. That being so, it is not the property of lawyers and judges alone. It is the property of we, the people of India. How soon we teach this in the schools of this country, in all youth forums, even outside the school, the better governance in India would come, perhaps in days to come. Ladies and gentlemen, I am supposed to speak only for 10 minutes because I am a speaker in the afternoon. I would only like to submit to you that this summit will have to carry the idea, not necessarily law or legal system. In every occasion that you meet, the idea that you have to carry is the Constitution and its values. Constitutional values, I would say that the subject of discussion should be responsible citizenship. For too long, we have been talking about rights and rights alone, whereas the Indian cultural tradition has been to emphasize duties. Governance can be organized either on the construction of duties or on the construction of rights. But there has to be a balance between the rights and duties, because no right exists without a correlative duty. In finding that balance, Indian society has weighed to the side of duties. That is what we call dharma. If people do their duty, where is the need for agitating for rights? Rights will automatically be obeyed. But when we adopted the Western democracy, liberal democracy, the emphasis came to rights because of the abuse of the duty regime by certain monarchs and emperors in the past. But while we agitate for the rights, if we forget about the duties, you will not be able to get better governance. What we need, therefore, is responsible citizenship. And my last comment in this presidential address is that for responsible citizenship, the magic formula is provided in one article of the Indian Constitution, that is 51A. And I would read out to you and sit down. It shall be the duty of every citizen of India to abide by the Constitution and respect its ideals and institutions, the national flag and the national anthem. Easy to be told? But a time has come when you have to be told and repeatedly told to cherish and follow the noble ideals which inspired our national struggle for freedom. How many of you are aware of the India's freedom story, unique in the world, where the mighty British Empire was brought to its knees by a non-violent struggle by a lone Mahatma who mobilized the entire country across all religions, all castes, all regions. That is the magic which was attempted to be followed elsewhere in South Africa, for example. To cherish and follow the noble ideals which inspired our national struggle for freedom. To uphold and protect the sovereignty, unity and integrity of India. The Maoist children, for example, the Naxalite children, 150 districts of India are under the control of these people who do not believe in the Constitution. This is because that the governance was so bad that they never realized that they have become a republic and we have driven out the British. No development has happened there, no education. Even a person like Pandit Nehru ignored the mandate of Article 45, which said that within 10 years of this constitution, every child should get free compulsory education up to 14 years of age. Nowhere in the constitution a dateline was prescribed in the directive principle of state policy. But even a leader like Nehru ignored it. With the result today, India houses the largest number of illiterate children in the world. And today we have it as a fundamental right, Right to Education Act. It's a revolution. Let ABVP take the leadership in ensuring the implementation of the Right to Education Act vigorously in the next 10 years, so that we will have every child educated. Without education, what do you talk of dignity? What do you talk of liberty, equality? You continue to have reservation. No other way. So give opportunity to every child. The rest will take care of itself. To defend the country and render national service when called upon to do so. To promote harmony and the spirit of common brotherhood amongst all the people of India, transcending religion, linguistic, regional or other diversities. To renounce practices derogatory to women, whether it is dowry or sexual harassment or domestic violence or what have you. To value and preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture. In fact, it is that when I go abroad, people ask me in America and England, how come with so much of diversity, you still subsist as a nation? Why did you not break up earlier as Yugoslavia or any other country? I find myself difficult to give an answer. Everywhere it is diversity. But we continue as a strong democracy with an independent judiciary, with a fearless press and media, with so much of freedom. But our leaders are failing us. Our constitution is not being read even by our leaders. That is the tragedy of this nation. To protect and improve the natural environment, including forests, lakes, rivers, and wildlife, and to have compassion for living creatures. Need to be told, is part of Indian culture. We worship the lakes, we worship the rivers. To develop scientific temper, humanism, and the spirit of inquiry and reform. To safeguard public property and to abjure violence. To strive towards excellence in all spheres of human endeavor, so that the nation constantly rises to higher and higher levels of endeavor and achievement. Ladies and gentlemen, the only message that I would like to convey is that let this be articulated by your activists and be inculcated in every child, every youth, and we try to practice, we will have achieved the India that we are aspiring for. Thank you.